Moscow, January 2008. Russian police surround the Arbat Hotel. Their target, Semyon Mogilevich, the man the FBI calls the world's most dangerous mobster.
Mogilevich is a very high-profile international organized crime figure.
The FBI wants him for fraud worth $150 million, money laundering worth $10 billion, weapons deals with Iran, and something else that would make him untouchable. He's calm as they close in, smoking a cigarette. 18 months later, he walks free. No trial. Charges dismissed. The FBI has evidence stacked like cordwood. The Kremlin doesn't care.
If they're overseas and he's contacted or have information outside of the U.S., we strongly urge individuals to contact the local U.S. embassy or consulate.
Today, he dines in Moscow's best restaurants. The FBI's $5 million reward remains unclaimed. Every intelligence agency on Earth knows where he is. No one will ever claim that reward, because everyone who could has already made a choice. This is the story of how a Soviet economics student built the world's most sophisticated criminal empire, and how he became untouchable by merging it with the state. But to understand that, we need to go back to the 1990s, when two men in two different cities were learning the same lesson. In chaos, there's profit. Semyon Mogilevich was born in Kiev in 1946. His classmates at the University of Lviv called him Brainy Saver. He had an economics degree, while they had street smarts.
He and his people conduct the traditional type of organized crime, extortions, drug trafficking, but he's also into arms trafficking.
But Saver understood something most economists missed. The gap between what things cost and what people will pay is where fortunes are stolen. In 1977, he's arrested in Kyiv for illegal currency dealing. 3 years in Soviet prison. Most men leave prison with trauma. Mogilevich leaves with contacts and education, a postgraduate degree in how systems fail. When Gorbachev opens the gates in the 1980s, Soviet Jews flood toward Israel and America. Mogilevich sees an opportunity. He approaches desperate families with a proposition. Sell me your valuables now. I'll send payment later. Fair price, I promise. He takes their treasures, antiques, gold, artwork. The payments never arrive.
He has a vast network that operates across the world. We could see in the case that he's charged in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania.
Between 1982 and 1984, he steals from thousands. His profit, $20 million. In that same decade, in Leningrad, a young KGB officer is learning from the other side of the system. His name is Vladimir Putin.
Some of these oligarchic figures thought for themselves that he is a forward-thinking, perhaps even progressive, moderate politician.
Putin is learning how power works, not through force, but through paperwork. How to sign the right permits, how to make money move through official channels and vanish. Same era, same Soviet Union. Two men discovering the same rule. Systems can be exploited by anyone smart enough to read them. When the Soviet Union collapses in 1991, Mogilevich has seed money and a philosophy. Putin has state connections and ambition. Mogilevich leaves for Budapest. Putin becomes deputy mayor of St. Petersburg. Neither man is finished building. They're just getting started. Mogilevich opens a nightclub called the Black and White in Budapest. On the surface, champagne, models, newly rich Russians. Underneath, the central nervous system of a new criminal empire. In 1994, he registers a company called YBM Magnex International.
What I was able to determine about YBM from the documents was that Semyon Mogilevich was an original founder and a controlling interest and, in a sense, the brains or the eminence grise behind the construction of YBM Magnex.
Official story: industrial magnets for computers and bicycles. Genuine operation in Philadelphia. Factory in Budapest. Here's the con. The factory barely runs. The magnets don't ship. The business is fake, but the paperwork is immaculate. By 1997, YBM's stock price has multiplied 20 times. The Toronto Stock Exchange lists it. Investment newsletters recommend it. Pension funds buy it, including the Ontario Teachers' Retirement Fund. Peak valuation, nearly $1 billion. $1 billion built of dust and documents. In May 1998, the FBI raids YBM's offices in Pennsylvania with 60 agents. The stock crashes to zero. 20,000 investors lose everything. Total loss, over $150 million. Mogilevich never set foot in Pennsylvania. He orchestrated the entire fraud from Budapest, from Moscow, from the other side of the world, a testament to how thoroughly distance had become irrelevant. The same year, 1998, St. Petersburg is rocked by a financial scandal. Millions in city funds vanish. Putin, now in the FSB, consolidates power by appearing strong against corruption. The methods differ. The result is the same. Money disappears. Systems hold. But YBM was just the storefront. The real operation was darker.
That at its core had some businesses, but was also engaged in a range of things that were entirely fictitious and in other ways very dangerous and illicit.
Czech police raid a villa outside Prague looking for stolen cars. What they find instead terrifies them. Soundproof rooms, drains in the floors, restraints bolted to walls. A Czech investigator later describes it with one word: medieval. Mogilevich's enforcers were Afghanistan war veterans, men trained in interrogation, men with nothing to lose. Rivals or problems were resolved in that villa. Word spread. Resistance became quiet. Violence was the backup plan. The real weapon was something far more powerful: the global financial system itself.
The Bank of New York investigation will likely take many months, and without the full cooperation of the Russians, few US observers believe it will ever be possible to untangle completely the trail of money, IMF or otherwise, that passed through the Magnex accounts.
In 1996, investigators at the Bank of New York noticed something strange. Hundreds of wire transfers moving through accounts controlled by a shell company called Magnex International. The amounts were staggering, sometimes $100 million in a single day. Over 3 years, investigators would uncover approximately $10 billion flowing through these accounts. 10 billion, not million, billion. The money came from Russian oil deals, aluminum exports, tax evasion schemes, weapons sales. It entered the Bank of New York, was split into thousands of smaller transfers, then disappeared into offshore companies in the Cayman Islands, Cyprus, Liechtenstein.
How much actual money laundering, that is disguising through various transactions, has been going on rather than simply moving and depositing, that it's not just laundering, is not really honest and fair.
At the center, Semyon Mogilevich. Not physically, he never touched American soil, but operationally, he was the architect. Magnex alone processed over 10,000 transactions worth $4.2 billion in just 5 months during 1998 to 1999. Bank employees Lucy Edwards and Peter Berlin facilitated the scheme. They earned $2 million. They would later be prosecuted. Mogilevich's name appeared nowhere on documents. He remained invisible. Beyond financial crime, Mogilevich built a weapons trafficking operation. By the mid-1990s, he controlled approximately 90% of Hungary's arms industry through front companies like Army Co-op and Dijep. On paper, a legitimate supplier. Behind the scenes, authorities allege he was trafficking stolen Warsaw Pact weapons to countries including Iraq, Iran, and Serbia. FBI reports indicate he sold approximately $20 million worth of military hardware to Iran, surface-to-air missiles, armored vehicles, technology that was strictly embargoed.
He has access to so much, including funding, including other criminal organizations, that he can, with a telephone call, affect the global economy.
Intelligence from 2001 suggests al-Qaeda approached him seeking nuclear materials. The exact details remain classified. What matters? Multiple intelligence agencies believed Mogilevich would broker anything to anyone if the price was right.
He defrauded literally thousands of individuals out of $150 million. He has contacts in various industries. He's a highly educated man, definitely a different type of mobster now.
While Mogilevich's financial operations dominated Europe, Putin's position in Russia was changing. 1999, apartment bombings across Russia, 300 dead. Putin blames Chechen terrorists, launches a war. His popularity soars from single digits to over 50%.
He was put in charge of a war in Chechnya, and as a result of the successful prosecution of that war, against all odds, he was elected the next Russian president.
December 31st, 1999. Yeltsin resigns. I'm tired. I'm leaving. Putin becomes president. Two criminal systems were now operating in parallel. One international, one internal. Both needed each other. Both understood the value of staying useful. Alexander Litvinenko is dying in University College Hospital, London. Polonium-210 is destroying him from the inside. He knows who poisoned him, but that's not what he wants to talk about first. Litvinenko was an FSB officer who had defected. He'd exposed FSB brutality. He'd become untouchable in a different way, by telling the truth. Before the polonium silenced him, he recorded a statement. In it, he made a revelation that would explain everything about how Mogilevich had survived. According to Litvinenko's deathbed recording, Mogilevich had maintained a good relationship with Vladimir Putin dating back to the 1990s in St. Petersburg. Not an asset, not a source, a relationship. Think about what that means. The future president of Russia had a good relationship with the FBI's most wanted mobster during the exact period when Mogilevich was building his criminal empire. In January 2008, Russian police arrest Mogilevich in Moscow on tax evasion charges. Not fraud, not money laundering, not murder, tax evasion, related to a cosmetics company called Arbat Prestige. The charge is absurd, given the weight of evidence against him. Convenient. 18 months later, he's released. The charges are dropped. Russian prosecutors claim insufficient evidence. This is the same man the FBI has been building cases against for over a decade. It was arrest as bookkeeping, a symbolic gesture proving Russia investigated him. Nothing more. But other signals revealed deeper protection. In 1998, German television station ZDF reported that the German intelligence service BND had made Mogilevich an informant. European police immediately complained it had become impossible to investigate him. Every time they got close, he was warned. Every witness disappeared or changed their story. In 2000, Ukrainian security services recorded something more explicit. They described Mogilevich as an official representative of Russian intelligence services, not an asset, a representative, a man working for the state as much as he worked for himself. In 2009, the FBI added Mogilevich to their 10 most wanted list, right between Osama bin Laden and James Whitey Bulger. The message was clear: we know who you are, we're not giving up. But by 2015, reality had set in. The FBI quietly removed him from the list, not because he was caught, not because he died, because he was residing in a country with which the United States does not have an extradition treaty. Translation: he won, but there was nothing more to be done. But protection wasn't the whole story. There was also profit, staggering profit. flowing directly through the center of European geopolitics. In 2004, a Swiss-registered company called Rosukrenergo appears. Its stated purpose: act as middleman for natural gas flowing from Russia through Ukraine to Europe. The volume, $2.5 billion in annual gas sales. The public face was a Ukrainian billionaire named Dmytro Firtash. But in 2008, Firtash made a startling admission to the US ambassador in Kyiv. According to the leaked diplomatic cable, he revealed that he needed Mogilevich's permission to enter the gas business. In 1990s Ukraine, you couldn't operate at that scale without the blessing of organized crime. Firtash later tried to distance himself from Mogilevich, but US cables noted they shared lawyers and had joint holdings in offshore vehicles. Think about what that means for Europe. Every time a home heats with Russian gas, some of that profit flows through companies controlled by organized crime. Energy becomes a weapon. Geopolitics becomes extortion. In 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the first thing Putin weaponized wasn't just military force. It was the gas pipelines that Mogilevich helped build. Semyon Mogilevich is in his late 70s now. Whether he's still actively directing operations or living on decades of accumulated wealth is unknown. What is certain? He's free. He dines in Moscow. He walks without fear. Those who tried to expose him paid a price. Anna Politkovskaya, journalist investigating FSB brutality, shot in her apartment on Putin's birthday, 2006. Pavel Sheremet, investigative journalist, car bomb, 2016. He was investigating Rosukrenergo. Alexander Litvinenko, former FSB officer, poisoned with polonium, 2006. He revealed the Putin-Mogilevich connection. Sergei Magnitsky, lawyer and auditor, beaten to death in a Moscow prison, 2009. He was exposing Russian money laundering schemes. Mogilevich didn't beat the system. He became the system. He proved something terrifying. Crime can become so big, so integrated into legitimate financial and political structures, that removing it would cause more damage than leaving it in place. He showed a generation of criminals how to think like CEOs, how to use stock markets and shell companies and government connections as effectively as guns, how to make themselves too important to prosecute. Today, that model has gone digital. Ransomware attacks, cryptocurrency theft, electoral interference. The playbook Mogilevich wrote in the 1990s is the template for 21st century crime. The reward still stands. No one will ever claim it, because everyone who understands the threat is already complicit in maintaining it.